Let's see. Waiting. While we're waiting for all of this to feed out to the people, I think we're live, but I don't see the folks coming in yet. So while we're waiting for everyone out there to tell us, like, if the audio is all good and all that stuff, I am gonna remind everyone out there to go to hankstrange.com. That's the way that you could best support us. We've got Lola's deals is on there. Lola's posting up daily deals and all kinds of good deals, especially for you folks that are right now for some reason trying to get all the guns and ammo in the world. You can go to hankstrange.com. You can find out stuff about us. Join our email list. That's where we'll give away things. By the way, I'm rocking my Gun Nerds shirt. Let's see if I can show that off to the people. I'll stand on my tippy toes. There we go, Gun Nerds. I'm actually got my shirt in for Ballistic Inc. If you guys want to get this shirt, go to Ballistic Inc. Go to the Hank Strange store, and you can get yourself a Gun Nerd shirt. I designed it. The awesome people at Ballistic Inc. like took my terrible drawings or whatever I put together and made this. They did a good job. So please go over there. I think we're feeding through to everyone now, so let me get the guys up here on the screen, and then I'm going to drop the open, actually. Boom.
Welcome
there
back
goes the
to
open.
Hank's Strange Situation.
Since we're all going through. Make sure you guys subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell so you can be notified every time we go live. Okay, we've got a new guest here, special guest, Scotty Banks. Scotty, we do this thing called jazz hands. So it kind of goes like this. I hope you're okay with this. Jazz hands, there we go. That's how we break the ice around here. And Mike from MW Tactical always has to be cooler than everybody else, so he's doing jazz pinky.
Yeah, his is much cooler than mine.
Oh. He always has to try to be cooler. We are live. I hope you guys have your big girl panties on. This is episode 527 of the Who Moved My Freedom podcast. I'm the host, Hank Strange, and our special guest tonight, as I said, is Scotty Banks. He's a firearms instructor at Glock Pro. What? That's right. He's here. Scotty Banks is joining us. And, of course, we've got Mike from MW Tactical in the house, also joining us. The show is brought to us here by Franklin Armory. Shout out to the Franklin Armory guys, makers of fine binary triggers. Perfect for your coronavirus apocalypse. Perfect thing. They don't make binary triggers for Glocks yet, Scotty. I don't know, you know.
No.
Someone might be working on that, though. Someone might be working.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out to everyone out there. Please smash the thumbs ups. If you have questions for Scotty or Mike or myself, let me know, and we will get to those. First of all, I'm gonna go to Mike. What's up, Mike? How's everything going?
Everything is going great. Thanks for having me on to the show. And I want to thank everybody who contributed to the GoFundMe campaign that I had going on a few months back. I donated $1,800 to the gym out of all the money and minus the fees that GoFundMe actually charged. And we're about to get some officers. Well, we actually paid for officers who are already at the gym because we tried to bring in officers to get the training. It didn't work out how we wanted it, so we just reversed it, and we paid for spots for the officers who are already at the gym. So.
Okay. All right. Cool. We'll definitely. So is that program over, or you're not doing that anymore, or it's still going?
No, we ended it for right now. Now we're focusing on other measures, other projects that we need to push forward with. Okay,
cool. We'll get into that here. Let me go to Scotty right now. Scotty, this is your first time on the show, so if you can explain to the folks who you are, what you do, how did you get to this particular point in your life here, so you can get us caught up, and then we'll jump into the rest of our convos here.
Yeah, so I'm the training manager of Glock Professional. So my job is just to travel around the world and teach on Mr. Glock's platform. You know, we teach armors classes, and we also teach shooting courses. I've been at Glock for 12 years now. I spent a lot of time up in the warranty/technical service department getting to actually know the gun and, you know, the different generations, the makes, the models, the parts, ins and outs. So I spent a lot of time up in warranty. My whole career has been spent in the factory at headquarters in Smyrna, Georgia. I've been over to Osprey many times. Life before Glock was in the Marine Corps, and then I went into law enforcement, and then I left my LE position full-time to come be a full-time trainer for Glock. However, I'm still a reserve deputy with my agency the Bartow County Sheriff's Office is about 40 miles north of Atlanta. But I spend all my time now. My full-time gig is traveling around the country, man, doing these training classes for Glock.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You're deep in the game.
Yeah, pretty deep into it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're all the way in the game.
I'm in it, man. I'm in it.
That's awesome. And the first thing, so I've got a whole bunch of things that just went through my mind when you're talking about Glock. But if folks out there have questions, let us know. Or Mike, if you have questions. My first thing is, that is an awesome job that you have at Glock.
Yeah, I've been pretty blessed, man. I've been pretty blessed to have a great team.
Mm-hmm.
I have a team of guys made up of all specialized background, high-end SWAT guys, SF guys, Marine Recon guys. So I've been pretty blessed to get to do what I get to do, man. I mean, it's not work when you love it, and I get paid to travel around the world and talk about guns.
Awesome. So exactly, how can I, do you need like an assistant? I mean,
what I tell you what,
yeah,
man,
I'm not as good. First of all, let me explain something to you. I don't know how to. You know how to probably take a Glock apart to all its little tiny parts and put it back together. No, I don't know that, and I'm not as good at drawing my gun or shooting or any of that kind of stuff. But I'm willing to learn on the job.
I got you, man. I got you.
Yeah. So I mean, how did you wind up working for Glock? I know you said you were in the military, in the Marines, right?
Was
Okay, so you came out. What did you do in the Marines?
I was with an artillery unit.
Mm-hmm.
Spent most of my time at Pendleton. Did some time over in Okinawa. I got out of the Marine Corps and I went straight into law enforcement. And I landed at Glock, man. I call it a gift from God. I just stepped out on faith. My last assignment in law enforcement was actually doing undercover narcotics and vice work.
Mm.
And my sons were small at the time, and I wanted to change, but I wanted to do something that I was going to enjoy. And the funny story is that when I actually went to Glock, I never went there with the intentions of actually staying. I just kind of went there, just kind of, regroup, get the family life together, and I was going to go back into law enforcement. But when I got there, they treated me so good. And tell you a quick story, one of the VPs pulled me out back one day, and I thought he was going to fire me because he pulled me out back, came and got me from my office, pulled me out back, and I'm like, holy crap, where are we going? And we go to the parking lot in the back of the building.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I'm freaking out. I'm really freaking out. I've only been with the company for a short time.
Uh-huh.
And, he stopped, turns around and looks at me and basically he looks at me and says, hey, we know who you are. We've done our homework on you. And he said, if you stay with this company, you'll have a great career.
Oh.
And because I was still kind of straddling the fence about staying at Glock or going into law enforcement. And I made the decision to stay, and it's been the best decision ever made. I mean, I love being a Marine. I love being a cop. But this is really, when people say they have a dream job, I really have a dream job. I get to, talk guns, and I get to meet like-minded people. So I still get to stay relevant,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But I'm just not actually doing the job any longer because we teach high-end SWAT guys. We teach military units. I mean, so we touch some of everybody, competition guys. We touch some of everybody, and that's what I love about the job. I get to touch everybody.
Yeah. By the way, let me just get this out there. I know some people are talking about the audio. I know you're using a phone, so I see some people saying to move closer to the mic. I don't know if there's any way that you could amplify what you're...
That's on my iPad.
Yeah. Oh, it's your iPad? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I turned you up a little bit, so my apologies to the people who there's maybe some audio issues out there. We'll try to address that. I did turn up the volume here a little bit as much as I could. Let me see if I can go in and individually turn your volume. No, I don't think I can actually. Oh, let me see. Do I?
What about if I turn up on my device?
Yeah, I don't think you could turn up the mic. I don't know if you can control the microphone volume on the iPad.
Okay, got it.
I'm not sure about that. So, see, like usually for me, I got a big voice, so, But you're a little softer spoken than me, even though you're more badass. I got to make up for my less badassery by having a bigger mouth. I learned that growing up in New York City.
Got it. There you go.
Yeah, so we just talk badass, and that's how that's like how you solve 50% of the problems.
No doubt.
Yeah. So I don't know if Mike has any questions here. I think James Lawson wants to know what years were you in the Marines?
93 to 97.
93 to 97. Okay.
Yeah.
There was some Desert Storm stuff going on at that time, right?
I think well, they was regrouping, trying to do it again, but
Okay.
Mike didn't get deployed.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you wound up working for Glock. You get to travel around the world. Do you get to
Yep.
fly on the special corporate Glock jet, or do you have to
I
take
have not, man.
Okay.
I got friends with the company that's in
Okay.
different positions.
Mhm.
They've actually had the honor and the privilege of flying on the Glock jet.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's on my to-do list.
Yeah, that's on
once I get that done, I know I have officially arrived.
Yeah, that's like the special bathroom key over a Glock, I guess, right? I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you get the key, you get the corporate jet. You know, it's all good.
Yep.
So let me see here. I'm trying to. We Run Guns. Shout out to Andrew from We Run Guns. He says, "What's your favorite Glock?" So are you? Well, let me ask this before you answer your favorite Glock thing. Are you only allowed, like, so as a Glock employee, can you only talk about Glocks, or can you? Are you
I mean, I don't get into bad mouthing other companies, but
Right.
we all of us Glock guys, man. We all have other we had lives before we came to Glock. So
Mhm.
quite naturally, if you're a gun guy, before I came to Glock, I had other guns. I've owned SIGs and Springfield Armories and
Mhm.
HKs and Berettas. I mean, I've owned all of them. You know what I mean? However, now that I work for Glock, if I'm gonna spend my money on something, you know what I mean? I buy Glocks.
Okay.
But-
Understood. So what is your
But
favorite
I do
Glock?
have stuff in my safe.
Yeah. What's your favorite Glock though?
Oh man, that's if I could only have one Glock.
Mhm.
If the good Lord came out of the sky and said, all right, you've been a bad boy, I'm taking all your stuff, I'm only gonna leave you one, I would probably go with the Gen 5 Glock 19 MOS. And the reason why is that the 19 has arguably been the best all-around do it handgun on the planet for a long time.
Mhm.
Even the guys that don't really drink the Glock Kool-Aid can't deny that the Glock 19 is no doubt one of the finest pistols ever been made. For what it for duty purposes and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I like the 19 because it's small, it's lightweight. I can carry a lot of ammo. It holds a lot of rounds. I said MOS configuration because I'm getting older now. So those 25-yard shots, I can't do them like I used to do them because I can't see as good. So I throw me a Trichicon RMR on there, or either aim point accurate, whatever I decide to run. But the Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS, that is definitely the one for me if I could only have one.
Okay, cool. And by the way, we're getting lots of questions, so I'm gonna try to hold my thing here so I can get to all these questions. Quickly, let's see, Mike. What's your favorite Glock? Because I'm gonna say mine, but
Yeah, you're gonna be disappointed.
Don't say that
by
it's
me
not a
saying
Glock.
this.
Don't even say it.
No.
Okay.
Trust me.
Okay.
I don't own a Glock.
Oh boy.
I've fired plenty of Glocks before, and I can honestly say when I got my Schutzensneer award
Mhm.
over in Germany,
Mhm.
I shot a Glock, and that competition, well, not a competition, but in that assessment test, if you want to call it that, but unless Scotty is willing to change my mind about Glocks, I can give him my address and we can talk about some
Hold on one
things.
second though. Let me understand this. You've had Glocks in your life, right?
No, I
But
never owned a Glock.
You never had a Glock.
Owned a Glock. I've
You-
owned Smith & Wessons, Walther, and now STI.
Okay, Mike MW Tactical Woodland. In your life, you've never owned a Glock. Shame on you.
Never.
For shame. For
Hey,
shame.
like I said, hey, if
Seriously.
Scotty is willing to try to convince me and break the mold or whatever else to
Oh,
turn me
man.
around, hey, I will willing to take one, play with it, do competitions with it, classes, whatever
Wow.
it may take, and give an honest assessment on
Yeah.
it. But I've never owned a Glock.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're not a gun guy because I think there's probably quite a few gun guys out there that have never owned Glocks, but wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wow. My first My first official gun owning was a Glock 19, and I was gonna say that's like the everyman gun as far as I'm concerned. That Glock 19, you know, since Colt came up with the single action pistol back in whenever that thing came around. The Glock 19, man, that's universal. Everybody should have one of those.
Yeah, at least one, right?
Yeah, Glock 19. I like the Gen 4, but I understand like what you're saying about the MOS version. So we got to do something with Mike, man. We got to get him some kind of Glock up in there. So what's your favorite handgun then, Mike? Since you're not a Glock guy.
Well, you know, I'm very partial to Walther, so
Oh, okay.
Q5, the PPQ line.
Okay.
I'm very partial to them. As far as competition, I have that connection with the STI that I'm shooting. And like I said, in my safe, I got plenty of guns in my safe. It's just those are the ones.
You don't have any Glocks. More. You don't have any Glocks, bro.
No Glocks in there.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Brian Quick says Glock is the most tested and proven pistol on the planet. How can someone not own at least one?
Hey, don't shoot the choir, boy, please.
I'm not saying this because Scotty's here. I'm not saying it. This is like mind blowing to me. We got to have an intervention or something on you. You know, I've got a couple of Glock 19s, but you can't have any. You can't have mine.
Scotty live in Atlanta?
You live in Atlanta?
Yeah. You live in Atlanta?
I live in a little town called Cartersville. It's about 40 miles north of Atlanta.
Yeah.
All right. So I live in Columbia, so I'm about 3 hours away from Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I am willing to make that journey down there to Smyrna, Georgia, to the Glock. Talk to you and see whatever we can work out.
That's easy money there. We'll set that up.
But Scotty, please make him pay 3 times the amount of money for a Glock 19.
What?
As a personal favor to me. When he buys one Glock 19, make him pay for 3.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Hey, all right. So, hey, Scotty, look, I'm on the Glock website right now, and I would say if I had my choice of a Glock, which would be 9mm, it would have to be the G34.
I knew you were going to say that. I almost said it.
Yeah,
and the only reason I say that is because it says competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. We got one in the safe, man. We'll arrange that trip for you. Come down and we'll invite you down to the range and we'll pull out a G34. We'll do Gen 4 and Gen 5. Let you decide. We'll do 3, 4, and 5. How about that? 3, 4, and 5. And let you decide,
that'll work.
What flavor you like, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So no doubt about
it. But make him pay more money. I'm sorry. He's got making up to do, man. Since he never bought a Glock, he's got.
Yeah.
He's got to make it up to the universe. If not,
yeah.
There's some anti-Glock people out there right now, like just mad.
So let me ask you this then. If you can break this down to me, because once again, I've never been into the Glock firearms.
Got it.
I don't understand the numbers. And when somebody rattles off a number to me, I actually got to text somebody or look it up and say,
got it.
Yeah. Good question. Good question.
So the Glock 17, as far as how we designate the model numbers?
Correct.
Yeah. So the Glock 17, that was Mr. Glock's 17th patent. That's how it came about, the 17. And it just went from there. The numbers just went from there. So 17, 18, 19, you know what I mean? That's how it started. So it started with the Mr. Glock 17th patent, which the Glock 17 is what started it all. The Glock 17 was introduced by way of SHOT Show around, I think, 1985. And they went from there.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So my question that I would tag on to what, that was a really good question from Mike. My question I would tag on to that, is it still, it stays sequential now, right? Is it like sequential according to like when that particular Glock was invented?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, we for an example, like when we came out with the G45 a few years ago, people thought it was a 45 auto, but it was actually a 9mm. But it was like, well, you had a G43 and you skipped the G44 and you went to G45. So everybody was wondering, well, why did y'all skip the Model 44 and go to the Model 45? And the reason being was because the G44, which is now the 22 caliber, right, that we just released, it was still in research and development. So we're still testing it, making sure that, everything is good to go. One of the good things about Glock is that, we don't put stuff out unless we feel that we can do it better than anybody else. You know what I mean? And so the 44, it wasn't up to Glock standards. So we skipped over it while we still worked on it, and we came out with the G45. Let me give you a little bit of history if I have time, Hank. I don't want to
absolutely, man. Oh, absolutely. You got all the time in the world.
Let me give you a little bit of history about the G45. So the G45 is a direct descendant of the Glock 19X. So the 19X, everybody's aware of, it was the gun that we designed for the military trials. It was designated the 19 MHS, which stood for Modular Handgun System. Okay, well, when the Army decided to go another route, we had this great pistol that we thought, hey, this is a great pistol, and it got leaked out, and we figured, some of our senior management were like, hey, we got this good pistol. Well, if our customers want it, why not release it to them? So what they did, they took the military pistol, the MHS pistol, and the only difference is between that gun and the 19X is that the MHS pistol had the ambidextrous manual safety on both sides. So we took the manual safety off of it, okay, and now we had the 19X, which is a hybrid gun. It has a 17-length grip and then a 19-length slide, which a lot of people found appealing because I'm a little guy, so I don't have big old gigantic hands. So the 19 fits great in my hand. But I've seen guys with big hands like you, Hank, with big hands. Sometimes you don't get as much purchase on the frame because of the short grip of the 19. So what we did with the 19X and the G45, we simply merged two of our best pistols, the Glock 17 and the Glock 19, and we just combined them together. We called them the crossover series. So we had a 17-length grip. So now those guys, even with bigger hands, can get a full purchase on the pistol. And then we had a compact length slide, the 19-length slide and barrel. So the 45 came around because when the 19X was produced at SHOT Show years ago, I think 2016, everybody loved it, but they were like, can we get it in black? Now go figure, Glock hadn't made a gun that was colored in 25 years or so. And when we released the 19X in Coyote Tan, everybody said, oh man, we love the gun, but can we get it in black? And I was like, you gotta be shitting me, right? Yeah. So so
I think I would count myself as one of those people that was like, I mean, I like different colors, so I get people liking the different colors. I'm like that too, but I'll be honest with everyone, all my Glocks are black.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, I'm like Wesley Snipes, man. Always been on black.
Yeah, no doubt, right? So the 19X was created at the request of the military, just how they asked for it, And so now we had this gun on the civilian market now, and a lot of police agencies who wear, blue uniforms and green uniforms, they was like, well, I don't know if I want a tan gun in my holster. So there was a huge demand for the 19X in black. So what we did, we went back to the drawing board and we created the G45. Remember, we skipped the G44 and we went straight to the G45. And what the G45 was, it was just an all black version of the 19X with some what I call enhancements. So the G45, it came with the beveled magazine well, flared mag well for easier and quicker reloads, and it also came with the front cocking serrations. And then later on, we introduced the G45 in the MOS configuration so that we could run optics on it. So I tell folks the difference between the G45 and the 19X is that the 19X is brown. It has no flared mag well. It has no front cocking serrations, and it has no MOS capability. So so the G45, man, give you a couple of upgrades, no doubt.
Oh, okay, all right, cool. Let me see. There's a couple of things I wanna get back to that. There's a couple of things. Elster's rifles and reloading said sounds like someone has some coronavirus in the background. That's Lola. The AC in here is not shutting off for some reason. So Lola, I think you know how to handle that situation, but it's not so far as me. I don't know. Lola's working at the hospital, so at some point here, we're all getting coronavirus. That's pretty much going to happen around here. Let me see. There's a couple things. So Kathleen Music Lover says Glock 17 first number. So the 17 was the first number. Were there like 16 prototypes before that? I don't know. I'm not sure whether or not that's something you could talk about.
It was Mr. Glock's 17th patent. So Mr. Glock didn't make handguns prior to. He didn't make handguns prior to him making the
Oh,
Glock 17 model. So let me give you a little history class real fast.
okay.
Mr. Glock was an engineer by trade, and he made stuff like curtain rods and door handles and stuff like that. And then he went on to start making. He was making machine gun bodies. Machine gun belts. He was making grenade bodies. He was making a lot of different things, e-tools, knives, stuff like that. The Austrian military they were looking for a replacement pistol for their aging Walther P38 pistols, and the gun had to meet so many requirements. Okay, it had to be this, it had to be that, it couldn't be this, it couldn't be that. So Mr. Glock goes to the drawing board. He comes up with a working prototype, submits it to him. He wins a 4,000 unit contract, and pretty much the rest is history.
Wow. Okay, that's actually really cool. So do you know what patent number 1 was? I'm just curious.
I do not know.
Because I want a Glock 1. I don't care if it was a curtain rod.
Yeah, but Mr. Glock, he made knives and e-tools and all those things before he ever started making pistols.
Oh, yeah, that's actually pretty awesome. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So my question is, the Glock 1 looked like it did today, but a little bit more blocky.
Yeah, so the Generation 1 Glock, that started it all, right? That was the Generation 1 Glock.
Yeah, but that is the Glock 17.
That's the Glock 17.
Yeah, that's the Glock 17. Yeah, that was
Glock. Over in Austria, it was dubbed the P80. That stood for Pistole 80. And,
okay.
That was known as the Glock 17 when it got to America. So the great thing about the system, Mr. Glock came up with this revolutionized, call it the safe action system. So the system that he used, people freaked out. They were like, well, those guns don't have safeties on them. And what I told people, I like to think of it as a souped up revolver. So those people that carry revolvers, now all of a sudden they're uncomfortable carrying a Glock pistol. Let me break it down to what I'm saying. So with a revolver, I tell these guys, I said, with a revolver, you simply, to load it up, you open up the cylinder, you put the rounds in the cylinder, you close it up. If you want to turn it on, you do what? You simply press the trigger, right? So to make it start up, you press the trigger. To make it stop, you get off the trigger. Well, take a Glock pistol. You take a magazine, you put rounds in the magazine, you insert the mag into the frame, you chamber around. To turn it on, once again, you press the trigger. To turn it off, you get off the trigger. So the Glock system, it works very, very similar to a double action revolver. Now we have 3 built-in safeties, and people freak out because they're used to working a manual safety, but the safeties are built into the fire control system: the trigger safety, the firing pin safety, and the drop safety. So as I put my finger on the trigger and start to turn the system on by pressing the trigger, those safeties sequentially disengage one by one: trigger safety, firing pin safety, drop safety. Gun goes bang. The gun does what it does. It goes through the cycle of operation, and then the safeties re-engage in reverse order, so that when I get completely off the trigger, the gun is automatically back in safe mode, just like a revolver.
Okay, very cool. Listen, I'm learning a lot of stuff. This is actually pretty cool, man. Yeah. I'm enjoying this. Yeah. Go ahead.
I have another question.
Okay.
All right. So, everybody's familiar with the M&P version of the handgun that Smith & Wesson makes.
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer in that Smith & Wesson actually took a Glock and made it their version, but more people can compare with the Smith & Wesson over the Glock, in my opinion. So What is your take on that?
Without getting too deep into it, you know what I mean? The M&P, great gun, you know what I mean? If you know and understand guns, you look at the M&P, it's a lot of Glock-like characteristics, you know what I mean?
Correct.
They were not able to successfully do the things we done. Anytime you add to a system, you complicate it, you compound it, you know what I mean? So, we've been able to keep our parts very, very minimal, which means less stuff that can break, less stuff that can go wrong. The M&P, good pistol. We don't go around bashing other competitors and stuff like that. That's not my forte. But I will tell you this, that when you add to the system, you add to it, you got more stuff that can go wrong, more stuff that can break. So yeah, the M&P, it has a lot of Glock-like characteristics though. Yes.
Yeah. One thing I would add to this here, and I'm by no means a Glock expert or anything like that. But in my experience, a lot of people say that Glocks look really simple, and I think they are simple, but simplicity is genius. So there's exactly, to me, I feel like there's exactly what you need in the Glock. It's all there, and it looks simple, but I don't think it's as simple as it looks. Like people always say, oh, you could it's just a couple of parts in a Glock. It's actually way more complicated than that, and I think people find out when they're building these Glock clones, right? Because there's videos out there where people think, oh, you could just slap these Glock clones together like building an AR. And from my experience of us building like those polymer 80s, etc., it's fun, but it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm glad you touched on that. The Glock, it is a simple pistol, but there's still a whole lot of research and development that goes into it to making sure everything is precise. Our quality control is precise. You know what I mean? Everything that we do, man, it's on a strenuous regime. Mm-hmm. And the problem with the Glock, people think it's so simple. It's probably the most modified handgun on the planet. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, because people think it's so simple, but what they end up doing, they end up making all these modifications, and now they end up running around with a fighting pistol or everyday carry pistol that's unreliable, and they don't even know it. I always tell people, Hank, that just because you like guns and you shoot them doesn't mean you understand guns. So when I teach an armor's course, I want you to go away from my class, and I want you to truly understand how the system works. So and I'm not against aftermarket parts, you just need to know what I tell folks is that when you put aftermarket parts in your gun, it's like taking medication. That's the analysis that I use. So for an example, I take high blood pressure medication, right? So I know when I take this medication, they give me a damn warning label. They say it may cause all these things, right? So, but when you use aftermarket parts, there's no warning label. So there's side effects that you don't know about. And then you start doing things to the gun because you think it's so simple, but every time you start changing something and modifying something, you compromise that legendary reliability that Glock is known for. And if it's a fun gun, if it's a competition gun, that's one thing. You can do what you need to do to it. I understand trying to get that competitive advantage. I get that part of it. But a fighting gun, you can't afford to come in second place with a fighting gun. You know what I mean? And we see that all the time. That's probably one of the biggest things with our pistol. People try to modify them. And they do all these things to them. And I always tell people, prettier doesn't necessarily mean better.
No.
You know what I mean? So.
Not at all. I mean, so for example, like I have a Glock on my hip right now, right? Glock 43. There's no modifications to it whatsoever. Now, do I modify Glocks? I've done that, absolutely. And we've got some what people call Gucci Glocks.
Absolutely, yeah, man.
There's a question about that, but that's not what I carry. Let me see. What someone asked there was a question here. Someone wanted to know what was your take on Gucci Glocks. So if we want to get into that now, this would probably be a good time
Gucci Glocks. Even in my training classes, I always ask people, what is the application? What are you going to do with this pistol? Is this a fun gun? You're going to go, you're going to go to the range with your buddies and make an Instagram video. Hey, rock on with your bad self. You know what I mean? But if you start talking about fighting guns and stuff like that, self-defense guns, I stand firmly against Gucci Glocks in reference to fighting pistols. And the thing is, you may get them to work for a little while. And here's how people get fooled. They Gucci them up and they get them to run, okay? But every time you use that gun, playing around with it, you are actually wearing stuff down. So there's no way around it. You just simply compromise the whole system when you start Gucciing them up. For example, you take and you start to mill out the slide. They do all these so-called lightning cuts. I tell folks that I like to call it sexing the gun up. They like to sex it up and make it look pretty. Well, master's my friend. If I start milling and cutting into my slide, now I got to start fine-tuning like a hot rod car, because now I've just reduced all the mass that was my friend. So now when I reduce my mass, I got to start messing with springs. When you start messing with springs, it's going to affect how it runs with certain types of ammunition. So all these things come
the domino effect.
Yeah, man. So all these things
all up through that.
And people bring us guns back to the factories raising holy hell that my gun ain't working, yada, yada, yada. Well, I mean, you've done all these things to it. That is the first thing we do to a gun when we get one back. When I worked up in warranty for years, technical services, I get a gun, the biggest thing we would see is freaking aftermarket parts. Gun's not running, whatever. Take that gun, build it back up to factory specifications, go down to the range, shoot 5 or 6 different types of ammunition, get 3 or 4 different shooters. So now I know this gun is working. Some shooters are good, some shooters are bad, but the gun is running. Okay. 3 months later, same gun comes back. What's he done to it? Put the same aftermarket stuff back off in there. So the aftermarket world is big. And so we just try to make people understand that, what is the application? You can't just start doing what you want to do to the gun and not know the side effects. There's always side effects. When these guns are spec'd out, Hank, they're spec'd out. The formula that we use, man, in reference to how much mass we're going to need, how strong the springs need to be, all this stuff is meticulously, spec'd out.
Yeah.
So when you start jacking around with it, you compromise everything. That's why it's important. Is this a fun gun or is this a fighting gun or everyday gun? You have to ask yourself that.
Yeah, I see. And by the way, I think Mike has a question. I have a super chat that I'm going to do. But let me just say this real quick. I see Glock in a lot of ways like a Porsche, for example, right? It's to me, I'm into cars, so that to me is like a fine. It's one of the best cars in the world, I think. The Porsche 911, let's say 911 Turbo S. That's my favorite car. I do not own one. I've driven them or whatever. I would like to own one. But when you get that from the factory, it's already a really good car. People modify it and all that. Once you start modifying those things and adding to it, and you're messing up the entire balance of all that engineering that these guys developed. For sure, there's like more powerful cars, faster cars, all of that kind of stuff. Supercars way above that. But there's a reason for that, and I think that happens with Glock as well. There's people who say that Glocks are too cheap. There's people who say they're too expensive. I think they're just right in price. I know there's a lot of competitors out there that are a lower price, and they're cool. I'm not trying to knock them either, but they're not as good. And there's guys who are more expensive and also not as good. I think it's a really well balanced gun. Let me get into this super chat from Brian quick, and then you can respond to that, and then I'll let. Actually, first I'll let Mike ask his question, but let me get the super chat. Brian Quick gave us $5 here. He says, "Is Glock going to release the Model 46? What is this? Is Glock going to release the Model 46? Do Gen 5 compensated models? Do a classic line with Gen 1 17 and Gen 2 19?" So there's a whole bunch of questions in there. Yeah.
Real fast to skip that. No, there probably won't ever be any retro Gen 1, Gen 2s because we have to get a molding machine. So the molding machine that we used for the frames, a molding machine costs almost $1 million.
Okay.
So so they actually, over in Austria, we got rid of all that stuff. So
they got rid of the mold for the Gen 1 Glock?
Yeah, so every time we change the generation, the frame, we have to get a new mold for it. So we're up to Gen 5 now. So
yeah, why isn't that Okay, so that Gen 1 mold should be in storage. That's history.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately,
didn't ever go
back.
Go
forward.
Yeah,
I don't think they ever go back. So I don't think.
Damn.
I mean, I'm just one of the little Indians. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I know there's some companies that have that philosophy that they're never going to go back to make old stuff. If you want the old stuff, you have to buy the old stuff that already exists. I think Rolex has that same philosophy with watches. They're not going to go back and make an old Rolex.
But what's great about our system is that the very first Glock, we still make all those parts. So I can take a lot of the stuff from today that's being made and run it in my very first Glock. You know what I mean? So so as long as I got the same model, same caliber, and same generation, all the parts are 100% compatible. Unlike some of the other manufacturers out there, when they make a new gun, the old gun is just obsolete because they stop making parts for it. If it breaks, you're just screwed.
Right.
Now,
with at least one exception that I know, my Glock 43 is not compatible with a 43X.
Yeah, well, all the parts inside is compatible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all the parts are compatible. Now, the 43X has a different frame, but the uppers will, you could take your 43, if you bought a 43X, the uppers will be, they swap out. And the only thing different between the 43X, other than the frame, of course, as far as parts, the 43X uses a different magazine catch, a different magazine, and a different slide stop lever. Everything else is identical. The
Oh,
parts
okay.
and everything. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And okay, all right. So let me let Mike get his question in here because we could deep dive into any of these things. Mike, what's your question?
Yes, my question was earlier, you had said, mentioned something about shooting the Gen 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah,
What's the big difference between the generations
got
and
it.
how does it apply to the firearm?
Got it. Okay, well, the Generation 3 came around in the United States in about 1998. So what we did when Gen 3 came out, we added finger grooves because when the guns were first designed and made in the U.S., they didn't have finger grooves and it didn't have a light rail attachment. So as time changed and people started wanting to hang lights on the guns and stuff like that, we added finger grooves to the frame and we added a light rail attachment to the frame. So Gen 4 came around in 2010. The difference between the Gen 3 and the Gen 4, internally, everything is pretty much identical. A few of the major changes between 3 and 4 was that we went to a dual recoil spring. So we went to a dual recoil spring. The Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, they all use a single spring. So when Gen 4 came around, we went to a dual recoil spring that we had already been using in our baby Glock guns, the G26 and the G27, which are the micro, the subcompact pistols, okay? When the Gen 4 came around, we went to a enlarged reversible magazine catch that we could flip it over to the other side. So now on the Gen 4 gun, we had a magazine catch that was 3 times the size of the Gen 3 magazine catch. So it had more surface area, which means I could get to it better, okay? And I could also flip it over to the other side if I wanted to. And then the Gen 4, what we did, we reduced the frame. So the Gen 4 was made in what we call the SF configuration. I call it sexy frame, but it stands for short frame. So what we did, we simply reduced the trigger reach from front to rear about 2 millimeters. So we made the trigger reach shorter on the Gen 4 frame, and then we also had attachable back straps. We had a medium and a large back strap, regular back strap, and then we had a medium and a large beaver tail back strap. So the medium back strap would add 2 millimeters to the frame, and then the large back strap would add 4 millimeters to the frame. So those were some of the cosmetic differences between the Gen 3 and Gen 4. Now people say, well, Scotty, which gun was better, the Gen 3 or Gen 4? The Gen 4 had some additional features that made it more appealing to most people based on my experience, because it also had the rough textured frame. One of the things that people always did with the Gen 3s and Gen 2s was stipple the frame. They made it even more aggressive. Well, when the Gen 4 gun came out, we had what we call the RTF grip texture. That stands for rough textured frame. So we gave the gun a very aggressive grip, 360 degrees all the way around. So now if I'm in a real world type situation, if my hands are sweaty, bloody, muddy, whatever, I can still hang on to my pistol.
Okay. Very
and
cool.
then the Gen 5, of course, the Gen 5 came around in 2017. Now, the Gen 5, in my opinion, is the cream of the crop. And I always tell folks that to appreciate the Gen 5, you have to understand what we did to it. We've done some things with this pistol that we've never done within the history of the company. We removed the finger grooves, first off. A lot of people liked them, a lot of people didn't. So what we found with people with bigger hands, with big old fat fingers, sometimes those finger grooves could make you put your hand in positions that you didn't actually want them. So we just removed them. I can take them or leave them, but I must say I do like the guns without them. But with them on there, they don't bother me. So the Gen 5 has no finger grooves. It has the exact same grip texture as the Gen 4, the rough textured frame. The Gen 5 is also, it's made in the same SF configuration. So the trigger reach on the Gen 4 and Gen 5 is identical. And then the Gen 5 has the same attachable back straps, the standard medium and large, and then we have the beaver tail medium and large back straps. But the real beauty of the Gen 5 is down off on the inside. We went to a ambidextrous slide stop lever, brand new design. We went to a different firing pin safety design, a different firing pin design. We went to a different trigger design. The trigger design that we used for 30 years in the U.S. was an S-cold spring, and that spring stretched. So it had 2 hooks, one hook to the trigger mechanism housing the other hook attached to the trigger bar itself, and that spring stretched.
Okay.
Now we use a compression spring. The Gen 5 now has a compression spring. So does the slimline models, 42, 43, 43X, and the G48. And then the Gen 5 guns has the GMB barrel. That stands for Glock Marksman Barrel, and that barrel is a true marksman barrel, guaranteed to they'll do under 2 inches at 25 yards and under 4 at 50. That is an absolute fact. As a matter of fact, I went up to the FBI and did some testing up there, and even after 20,000 rounds, man, they didn't see no change in accuracy. So the Gen 5
is
barrel,
that regardless of who's shooting it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. But that barrel in the Gen 5 guns, man, it'll do everything a hot dollar 1911 will do. That's a fact. And it's not to knock on any other, but that barrel, man, the Glock Marksman barrel, we make our own mandrels and all these things, man, for our stuff. Everything about the Glock system, even if I wasn't a Glock guy, and I understand the people that's listening have to take what I say with a grain of salt because I work for Glock, but I carried Glocks a long time before I even went to Glock to work, all right? And one of the things that I love is that everything about the Glock pistol, when you own a Glock, everything about that pistol is made and controlled by us. We don't outsource anything. So when you run into some of these other pistols, a lot of that stuff is not controlled by them. So when they got a problem, they got to try to track it down and get these people to respond, yada, yada, yada. When we have a problem, we know exactly where it came from. We can fix it and we can deal with it. We make all of our own springs. Everything about our gun is made and controlled by us. That's one of the things that I love about the company.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, when I was in the military, stationed down there at Fort Benning, one of my buddies, he had a Glock, and he had told me one day he was going to the Glock store, and I told him I'll see him when he get back because I had something else I had to take care of. I couldn't ride with him. But when he went up there, he
you were being a hater. You were being a hater, Mike.
No. He was explaining to me like, yeah, I heard what you said about being a hater, but I'm not a hater.
That's why you didn't go. That's why you didn't go.
No, I had other things I had to take care of.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So, but what he pretty much told me was they pretty much gave him a new gun. Like they replaced all his magazines. He bought his magazines in. They replaced the magazines for free, and they pretty much gave him a free gun because they looked at something and said something was wrong. The gun is kind of outdated, so we're just gonna give you a new gun. And I was like, wow, that was pretty impressive.
I mean, our customer service is second to none. If you got a great gun and crappy customer service, it's just a matter of time before people say, you know what, screw you, I'm out of here. And so, yeah, when you bring a gun to us, if something needs to be replaced, when that gun is serviced, when you leave with it, you can rest assured that gun has been upgraded, it's been serviced, man, and it's good to go. So we pride ourselves off of that as well.
Okay. Let me try to get to some other stuff here. One of the things I wanted to say in there, so that just if we can touch on it quickly. So basically, the Gen 5 is like really the true 2.0 with Glock, right? So let's say Glock 17 was Glock 1.0. Gen 5 is a true 2.0, right? Everything in between was like slight upgrades, but this is the first true massive upgrade. Yeah.
This is the first true, big design change. And what's great about it, we didn't get away from our foundation. It still has the exact same safe action system. So from generation 1, the very first gun that came in the country in 85, the safe action system works the exact same way on the Gen 5 gun that was produced in 2017. So the safe action system hasn't changed. The safety still disengage as you press the trigger, and then the gun goes bang, and then they re-engage when I let off the trigger. So we haven't changed anything about that. But down inside the Gen 5, yes, this is the first time we've had a massive change in the design of the parts, the firing pin safety, the firing pin itself, the trigger mechanism housing, the trigger spring, the slide stop lever, the slide lock spring. The barrels are GMB, true marksman barrels. So the Gen 5 gun, man, and this is like, once again, this is not a knock, but I'll put that gun up against any $3,000 gun out on the planet right now. You know what I mean? And it'll do everything that $3,000 gun will do. You know what I mean? At distance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So
go ahead.
Can I ask this right quick?
Sure.
Looking at the Glocks, all the grips are either checkered pattern or like the old I don't know how to call it, but it's not really stippling, but it has some texture on it.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Will Glock ever go to like an aggressive texture,
Yeah.
Hmm.
like the M&P 2.0?
We actually had we done that. Hey babe. We actually done that's my wife. We actually done a gun called in what I think in like 2001 or two. It's called the RTF2. That was the most aggressive grip we've ever made. It was in Gen 3 configuration. It was a Gen 3 gun, but it was called the we call it the RTF2. It was so aggressive. I loved it. It's actually my favorite grip, but we discontinued it because people started complaining. You know, yeah, I mean, law enforcement agencies were buying them. They were like, "Oh my God, it's eating up the shirts and everything." You know, I mean,
Yeah.
civilians that carry concealed were like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's eating, rubbing me raw," and all
Yeah.
these things.
There's
So
no
we
perfect gun for
discontinued.
everyone. Yeah.
Exactly. So we
Right.
discontinued them,
Yeah.
but you know, they're still out there. We actually made it we made the RTF2 in the 17 and 19. We made it in the 22 and the 23, which are the 40
Mm.
caliber guns, and we also made it in the 45 auto, the Glock 21. So
Oh.
the RTF2 models they're out there. They're still out there. We've officially, excuse me, we officially discontinued them years ago. But that is the most aggressive, even more aggressive. Excuse me, even more aggressive than the MMP 2.0. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
A quick question here. So let's say we know someone that would like to get a Gen 1 Glock. Can you hook that person up with a Gen 1 Glock?
I can
And
talk
it
to my
might be,
people, man.
and it might be me.
I,
It might be me.
I can talk to my people and see what they can muster
Yeah,
up.
I would love to get a Gen 1 Glock 17. I'm sure there's lots of people that would like. I know Walter would like to get one, but I'm talking about me here right now. Nobody.
Yeah, I can talk to my people.
Yeah. So let me get to this question from Kevin Peterson. I know I'm way behind on the question stuff. Kevin says, "I'm looking at getting my son a Glock 44. Are the rumors of it being unreliable true? Obviously, the Glock 44 just came out. I saw you at SHOT Show, a media day. We didn't do a video with you there at media day. We did it with another competitive shooter that shoots for Glock. I'm trying to remember her name. You had a few
Probably
competitive.
Ashley or
was it
Michelle.
Michelle? Yeah,
I think it was
Michelle.
Ashley. I want to say it was Ashley. She was awesome, by the way. And then we got the gun out and we did a video. There's been a lot of videos, so there's stuff here. But address Kevin's question here. He's looking to get one for his son. There's stuff out there about it being unreliable. What can you tell us about what's going on with
Yeah,
the Glock 44 and what you guys are finding out since it got released here in the States?
you have to be careful with the internet. You know what I mean? Because everybody gives their opinion and when I was in SHOT Show, we had we had several G44s on the range, and with all the hundreds of people that came by and shot them, you know, we shot a ton of rounds and no issues. We also at the same time we had two guns over at uh, Las Vegas Metro PD, and they were doing their own media day. Well, so that's like you know Law Enforcement Appreciation Day rather,
Mm-hmm.
and we shot 5,000 rounds through two guns over there, and didn't have any issues. Now,
Mm-hmm.
with that being said, I saw the stories on the internet. Uh, there's been some things that happen. We don't know what, you know, like I said, we don't know what people are trying to do to the gun. But out of all the guns that we've produced, I think we've got like 70,000 out there, and only a handful have came back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's nothing that I would be concerned about. You know what I mean? I've got mine. We've shot tons of rounds through them, and we've had no issues with them. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything for anybody to be concerned about being unreliable if they purchase this pistol.
Right. So I know that I think there was a video, or at least I don't know if it was one or two videos, where I guess the gun went off out of battery for people. Here's what, and then I know we've had Mac from Military Arms channel on that I believe he had two. He tested them. He came up with certain things. We tested ours without looking at other people's stuff, and there was so for example when we were testing the Glock, I believe we put like over 500 rounds through it. We obviously didn't get anything out of battery because you guys would have seen that from us. We did have some failures, and I know, like Mac was saying, for example, just the way that those, like the slide was coming back on the 22. You know, if that goes wrong, that could conceivably set everything off, right? Because it's rimfire. and create an issue like that. We didn't see that, but we did see some of these failures. Is that related to ammo? What can you tell us about the ammo situation? I know when the gun came out, it came out overseas. I've heard that the ammo overseas is better. I'm not sure what ammo you guys were using at SHOT Show. Do you think that has anything to do with it?
Yeah, ammo is always going to play a part. Ammo can, not all ammo is created equally, right? And you're talking about 22 rimfire, which is, that stuff is, it's hit or miss sometimes, a lot of times with it. So yeah, I would definitely chalk it up to ammo. When running more of the high end stuff, from my experience, the gun has been flawless.
Okay.
It works better with some than others, but I always tell folks, if the gun is broke, the gun will stay broke. It won't fix itself. You know what I'm saying? So ammo is normally the culprit when something starts to go wrong. When you start getting the gun go bang, 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 and then you have some stoppages. Then it goes bang, 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 bang again, and you have a stoppage. So the gun doesn't have a personality. Does that make sense? So it can't change, and it can't decide who it likes more. You know what I'm saying? So anytime we get an issue with a gun like that, when it's shooting and it's going bang, 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 and then I have an issue with it and it comes back again, 9.5 out of 10 times you can chalk that up to ammo.
Yeah. In all honesty, with 22 rimfire, we were expecting to have issues. You don't necessarily shoot 22 rimfire and get everything happen perfectly. Although,
exactly.
After that, we did shoot another, like there's the what is it, the Torx. I think it's the Taurus TX22 or whatever, was pretty good. Do you think it's also maybe the way that people load the magazines? I know there were some folks saying that you have to load it in a specific way. You do have, the one thing that you have on that magazine that I think is good is that you have an assist that you could pull down.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that affects somehow, like how that round's being fed in, or
yeah,
are you guys looking at anything there?
It's hard to troubleshoot, by word of mouth, you know what I'm saying? Without actually physically seeing it and being there. I've seen people do a lot of wazoo stuff to guns, and then they automatically blame the gun. And then when you question them in hand, they're like, "Oh no, I didn't do it. It's all factory. It's this and that." And, and so you just never know what people are doing.
Do you guys ever look? I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to catch you out there or anything like this.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I think this is great. I didn't even realize how awesome this was going to be, man. You're actually like even better than I thought. When it comes to this subject. I was a massive fan of Gunny. I'm just going to tell you this really quick. I was a massive fan of Gunny.
Absolutely.
Since Gunny, you're the best representative of Glock that I've ever spoken to.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that.
And Gunny was an awesome dude. I love him. God rest him, man. I really love that guy. But so the thing here, obviously with the Glock 44 that everyone's been waiting for a long time, and then being 22 rimfire, right, was really highly anticipated. You said that, you guys, it wasn't 100% ready, so you went on to some other things and then came back to that. I think there are some issues out there. Did you guys has anyone at the company been looking at the videos that people have put out?
Oh yeah, I mean, anytime we listen to what's going on, I mean, and when we want to have the best possible product out there. So despite what some people may think, what people may say, we don't just turn a blind eye. When there's stuff floating around, we don't like that. We see stuff going on. We want to fix it. We want to make it right. And if there's an issue with something, you can rest assured it's going to be fixed.
Yeah. Okay. So it's possible that somewhere here down the line we might get some kinds of improvements. Here's my thing. I think about the Glock 44. This was a highly anticipated gun in America. I feel like Glock made that, and you can correct me here. I feel like Glock made that gun really as a world gun. So that's where we run into some of the things that immediately as Americans we're going to complain about the gun, right? Like me included. Hey, it's only 10 rounds. It would have been awesome for it to be 20 rounds, 30 rounds, 50, 100. I'll take it all. So, but I feel like obviously as a world gun, 10 rounds is probably what you'll be able to do in a lot of countries. It's 22. A lot of like we can get 9mm here, 45, 10mm, all those things. Not necessarily in other countries. So we when it was released overseas. Then it came here, and we're just really anxious to get into it. We have lots of different kinds of 22. A lot of us who plink, we just throw, like I have bucket of bullets that the real cheap Remington stuff. You ever saw that? Yeah, that I want to put in there. So if someone asked me this right now, like we're trying to answer, what was his name? We're trying to answer this guy's question of whether or not he should get one for his son. Here's what I would say. I would say if you're a Glock guy and you want your kids to be able to use a Glock, the Glock 44 functions like a Glock. It feels like a Glock, except it's a little lighter than a Glock 19. But if you look at it, it's like, oh, that's a Glock 19 until you pick it up. It functions, works like a Glock and everything. Maybe you'd have to load in a certain way or think about what ammo that you put into it. But, being the American consumer and a Glock guy like myself and lots of other folks out there that are Glock guys, Glock fanboys, they always feel like they want a little bit more out of it. So I think we want more ammo capacity, and then some of these things that came up, we want to know like exactly what's going in there, some people, before they invest into it.
Yeah, of course. We're actually making a 15-round magazine. By the way, some of the other companies out there that's making 22s, what's the magazine capacity on those?
I'm going to say, Mike, you can feel free to jump in here. I know you have another question. I'm going to say I think I've seen 12, 15, all the way up to Kel-Tec's making something that I think is like a 33-rounder.
And how reliable is it?
Yeah,
the Kel-Tec has to also be loaded in a very specific way. Let's be honest.
And that's the thing.
Let's be honest about that.
And I know, in America, that's the thing about America. We none of us like the same stuff. Mm-hmm. You get three guys right now, me, you, and Mike, and all three of us are going to have a different taste in things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's nearly impossible to fit the needs of every individual. You know what I mean? And when we released the gun, we knew, the 10-round magazine was the one that was working best. We're in the process as we speak. We're of developing a 15-round magazine for the gun. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. You want to be able to, you want a gun that runs. So if you start making these Wazoo magazines now, how reliable is it going to be if you get a 30-round magazine? You know what I'm saying? So people will be pissed. They got a 30-round magazine, but then the gun ain't running. So I always tell folks, everything that's good to you ain't good for you.
Yeah,
you know
we're gonna listen. I mean, and I'm gonna say this to you, right? As a gun guy, I complain about everything. So when I did the video on the Kel-Tec, what is it, the CP33? We didn't read the instructions. We just started trying to load that magazine. And that didn't go very well. So because it's 33 rounds, it's like, I don't want to say, it's like a double, triple stacked kind of deal.
It gets you excited.
Yeah, and so we just jump in there and we do it. So that's like Kel-Tec, I think, is one thing, and the way that people look at Kel-Tec, they look at it in one way, and I think the way that folks look at Glock, they look at it in a different way, and this is why I by no means think that gun was a failure. So if I was answering this guy, I would tell him, if you're a Glock guy, if you specifically want a Glock, get this. If you just want a gun that's affordable, however you want to put that, and that has a 15-round or 20-round capacity, get anything else that's out there that has a good reputation.
Absolutely.
But a lot of us are Glock guys, and we want to see Glock be 100% perfect. And that's why maybe there's a little bit of something going on around the Glock 44 situation.
I mean, like I said, I haven't witnessed any of this stuff. I mean, at SHOT Show, I mean, everybody that came through those guns, everybody that came through at SHOT Show and ran a G44 walked away smiling and giddy and happy and was like, damn it, you're going to make me buy another gun. So this is not Scotty Banks talking. This is the feedback I'm giving you guys that I've seen in the field. Now, with that being said, just like anything,
I saw that too. I saw that too at SHOT Show. I think maybe I'll have to go back and look at my video. I think maybe we had some kind of feed issue when we were out there. That might have happened once or twice. You have to give a certain amount of leeway to a 22 rimfire.
Absolutely.
For that situation, but I don't know how. Like one thing that a lot of guys like me, and I think this is probably a situation that's not 100% on Glock, right? I think it's also a little bit on the expectation. I'm just trying to get this. Yeah, it's a little bit on the expectation of folks like myself and how something, let's say, like Media Day works. because it's very tough to get into the weeds on things at media day. So if someone if someone knows, hey, load these magazines properly, they use a specific kind of ammunition, everything can go great, I think, at media day. But then once we get it out in the hands of the people, like myself, we don't always read the instructions, we don't realize this or that, maybe there's ammo issues, maybe there's this thing or that thing, then it becomes, I think, once you make something and you put it into the world, right? Now you have
Absolutely.
a million people using it in a million different ways.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if anything man-made, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Our motto was Glock perfection. You know what I mean? But perfection is an unattainable goal. One of my old SWAT commanders always told me, perfection is an illusion. It's an unattainable goal, but we strive for it. Everybody strives for it.
Mhm.
So anything that's man-made is subject to be bad or go bad, or something can break, something go wrong with it. Definitely,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, and this is just honest talking, us talking.
Mhm.
A lot of the stuff that people are saying, people have a way of exaggerating stuff and then making it worse than what it really is.
Mhm.
And we've ran that gun. I've ran that gun. There's no way we would have put that gun out if we wasn't satisfied with the results we're going to do. You know what I'm saying? We would not do that and catch all the flack. With that being said, when you mass produce things, can stuff get bad? Sure it can. But there's no way we would have released that pistol if we didn't feel confident, 100% confident that this gun was thoroughly tested. It was thoroughly tested. You know what I'm saying? And there's no way that we would have put this gun out if we thought it wasn't going to be 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, when we tested it, everyone that tested the gun said that they would buy it. Maybe some people had some stipulations, like they want 20-round magazines, or they maybe want it to be a little bit more affordable or something like that.
Got it.
Yeah. But, what I think... if the guys, I don't know if there's someone at Glock, I don't know how everything works. It'll be cool if there was someone over at Glock that maybe was out looking at videos and talking to guys like myself and some of the other people out there that do this. Because I know from my point of view, and other guys like me that I speak to, we're not trying to bring anyone down. We're just trying to show people things. And a lot of times I try to, I show people exactly what happens, even though sometimes people get mad at me. I make long videos because I'm showing them everything that happened, because maybe the folks like yourself at Glock will look at my video and go, wow, this thing was happening here. Let's see if we can communicate with that guy, figure out what ammo was he using, what things did he do, so we could see what's going on here and bring that thing closer to perfection.
One of the things that I respect about Glock, even before I had great customer service with Glock before I came to work at Glock. So one of the things that I love about the company is that, if there's an issue, we don't run from it. We fix it. You know what I'm saying? We don't run from it. We fix it. Like I said, we control everything about the gun. Everything. We don't have to go out and chase somebody down and figure out what's wrong with your quality control. We control everything. So we don't run from issues. We don't run from problems. If there's something wrong, we're going to take care of it and fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, man? Now that I've met you, I would love to get you out on the range with us. We'll do some videos and things like that. And maybe we'll do some follow-ups to people. Unlike Mike, I have a ton of Glocks.
In order for me to be a part of the follow-up video or anything shooting Glock, I have to have a Glock in my possession.
I have one for you.
No, listen.
No,
well, listen, help him out. But like I said, man, make him pay for all the Glocks he didn't buy. That's my.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna put that in.
Scotty, what I think should take place is we need to go ahead and link up with your people and make some type of an arrangement so we can make this.
In other words, he's trying to keep me out of it.
Down to the hacienda. I'm trying to get down to the hacienda, and then we go ahead and do some type of competition shooting there in Florida.
Oh yeah, we would love to have you here, Mike. We would love to have you here. I think, Mike, you had another question for Scotty, right? Did you have another question?
Yes, I did. So the other question that I had was, in regards to the competition realm, and I know competition shooters are a direct reflection of the product. So they're shooting the products, they're winning competitions with the products, but now since the paradigm shifted with competition shooting, because now you're having people who are not sponsored winning all the competitions that a lot of the sponsored companies were winning a couple years ago. What is y'all take on that far as your product?
I don't have anything to do with the shooting team. I really don't. I don't even. I just know when we have an opening on the team, they bring them in, they shoot, they interview them, and they make a selection. So I really don't. I really can't speak on that. That's a marketing issue, as far as the team goes. So I don't like to even touch on things.
So let me just. Can I try to understand that question, Mike? Are you saying you're asking? Because I know this is a competition question you're asking, right, Mike? I'm just trying to.
Competition and product.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? So,
okay.
So for instance, like when we was talking about the firearm that somebody stated, I don't know which Glock it was, that said it was unreliable, but then Scotty replied back with people make alterations to the firearm, so that's why majority of the time it doesn't work. But now, say for instance, if Scotty say, here, I want you to shoot this gun in competition, right? But it's with a member of the Glock shooting team, which is the pinnacle, because they're winning all these championships. But now all of a sudden, over the course of years, you just have somebody who is not sponsored all of a sudden winning these competitions against your product. So that's
so people using other guns.
Other guns.
Correct.
Okay, and then they're winning versus the people on the Glock shooting team or people that are using Glock guns. Is that what you're trying to ask?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So okay. Do you see that, Scott?
Yeah. So you want to know how does as the company feels about that? Is it?
Well, it's like the performance on the person is going to vary because even though you're on a shooting team, one day you might feel awesome in shooting, and another day you might not feel into it.
Of course.
Yeah. And I think one of the things too is so in competition, right? Is it the person? Is it the machine they use to compete? So if you're driving a car, shooting a gun, is it that? Is it both of them? Is it like what's the factor here of when people are competing?
Yeah, I think it's skill. I mean, I think it's a lot to do with the product too. I mean, you got number one, you got to have a gun that runs. You know what I'm saying? So if you got a gun, you fixing malfunctions during stages, you out of it, right? And then it's ability. You can't buy ability. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it has a lot to do with the product. I mean, there's been several world championships won with Glock pistols. You know what I mean? I'm Dave Savigny, who I used to work with. I know you're familiar with that name, Dave Savigny.
Right.
Probably one of the greatest shooters ever to grace the face of the earth. You know what I mean? And he done all his work with pretty much a stock block. You know what I'm saying? IDPA, USPSA. You know what I mean? So, it's a lot of times it's the guy shooting. You know what I mean? The arrow. You know what I mean? It ain't the machine itself. You know what I mean? The gun is only as good as the person using it. You know what I mean?
Are there any stats on what's the winningest gun in the handgun competition game? Are there any stats on that?
I don't know that. I know Dave was very fond of the Glock 34. He did most of his work with the 34.
Okay.
He won a lot of world championships with the Glock 34, and he pretty much ran it stock, man. You know what I mean? A few things here, a few things there, but he didn't have a sexed up gun that he was out there killing people with, $3,000-$4,000 guns. He was smoking them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, and the reason why I'm asking that question is because I know that there's lots of in the whole competition world. But I think Mike, you know a lot better this than I do. But from the outside looking at the competition world, I hear guys telling me all the time, hey, I just go with no special outfits, no special guns, and I kick all these guys' asses and I win stuff. And then you see there's people who go like all decked out and they have all these special race guns and stuff like that. And some of them do really well, but that's not always the factor in winning. So, the thing that's really curious to me about this is, what is it? Is it in the middle? Is it the skills, 100%, or the gun 100%? Yeah, that'll be an interesting thing to look at.
Yeah, I would actually say your skill is 90% of it, and the tool is the other 10%.
Okay.
Because when I went to, when I was shooting the Walther, I was plateauing, and then when I got the STI, I felt like it bumped me up a little bit because it was all still. So by being all still, I had to learn how to rework it, the timing and all that good stuff. but then it started working for me, and then it was
Okay,
in
so
sync.
you didn't have the all metal version of that Q5? That was
No, because
oh, okay.
it was in high demand, and they told me to wait. So
Oh, okay.
they just giving it out to everybody else. So
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, so do you really, so you as a competitor, do you really feel like, I know you just said that the gun is 10% in the skills.
hmm
Um, how do you see it out there? Because I'm just curious since you asked this question. Are most of the competitors out there going with, high end stuff like STI and on from there? Are they going with these real luxury or race guns? What's happening?
well, also depends on the division you shoot. Also,
Mm-hmm.
so like by me shooting limited division, which pretty much means like I can take a Glock, go to a match, and shoot the limited division,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the only thing I really would do is put a base pad extension as long as it meets the regulations of
Mm-hmm.
being 144 millimeters. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So plus up my ammo count, I should be in there. But
Mm-hmm.
me personally, when I started out with Smith and Wesson, I was shooting my EDC. That kind of like had me at a certain point, and then when I got the Q5, it upped me up a little bit to a higher point. But then by being 9 millimeter, right, I noticed I was behind on scoring, so I'm chasing the people who shooting 40. And then when I got the STI, it bumped me up a little bit more skill wise because like once I had to learn the gun all over again, and by being all steel, it just, in my personal opinion, it performed better.
Okay, so maybe I think Scotty, like what I'm getting out of it is that it is the skills, but then once you get up into the high skill level, now you need those little tweaks,
Oh yeah,
give you
everything
that
matters.
Yeah,
extra.
a
When
Yeah,
you
little
get to a
bump.
certain level, everything matters. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Does so
Seconds matters.
right? So Scotty, with the I don't know if you know this either because I think you just said that you're not really like in the competition realm of Glock. Um, with the competitors, are those special guns? Does Glock work on the guns the competitors have, or do they work on them themselves? How does that work?
No, they actually they take them to some other company, and
Mm-hmm.
they let the modifications they like,
Mm-hmm.
they do it with other companies. Yeah,
Oh,
Glock. We
okay.
don't do any custom work. You know what I mean?
You don't build race guns or anything like that.
Nope. And you gotta understand. I tell folks when the Glock was designed, and it was designed for law enforcement, military, and
Mm-hmm.
self defense carry. You know what I mean? We never had the competition thing in mind. However, about 30 years ago, the Glock Sports Shooting Foundation was invented. Mr. Glock wanted his customers to have something to do with his product, so we come up with the Glock Sports Shooting Foundation. It's the gateway drug to competitive shooting. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It's there's no reloading, there's no drawing, there's no moving. So it's a great way to introduce people to competitive shooting without the nerves and all these things because somebody I've been to competition matches, man. There's a lot of prima donnas out there, guys bitchy and pissy and attitude. That's why I stopped doing it because I don't want to slap somebody. So I just stopped I stopped going to them because they just bitch and whine constantly, man. It's like, damn, go have fun. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Enjoy it, have a good time, you know what I mean? And
Right.
fellowship, all those things. So
Mm-hmm.
we have the Glock Sports Shooting Foundation where we do about 55, 56 competitions around the country, every year.
Mm-hmm.
And we give away millions of dollars in prizes, guns, all these things, you know what I'm saying? And even some high-end shooters, come shoot these matches, you know what I mean? So it's a fun time. A lot of the guys that can't scoot like they used to scoot, they can't run and jump up and down,
Mm-hmm.
they come back to the Glock Sports Shooting Foundation because it's all stationary. There's no drawing, you know what I'm saying? There's no reloading, and it's based, you still have to balance speed and accuracy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Okay. Did you have a follow up there? Did you have a follow up there, Mike?
No, 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 that was it. That
Oh,
was
okay.
it.
Okay. Has Glock ever thought of building specifically a race or competition gun, or that's just something that's completely off the table?
At, I don't want to speak on, but I'm just like I said, I'm just one
Yeah.
of the I'm my title is training manager.
Right.
You know
You're
what I
not a
mean?
designer, obviously, or
Yeah,
engineer
and
over
so,
there.
but
Okay.
we all get together and congregate and talk about stuff like that. Will it ever
Mhm.
happen? I don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
we know that people modify the crap out of the gun,
Mhm.
so we know that, and we know that people would love to see or some type of race gun from the factory. Will it ever happen? Don't know.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Here's another question. Lola has some questions, but first I'm going to ask a question from me. But before I even do that, I'm going to remind everyone watching to smash the thumbs ups, okay? If you don't mind, if you want to help us out there, smash the thumbs ups. We appreciate that. So I'm going to ask you this question because this is a very important question to me. I can't have you on here as a representative of Glock and not ask you this. And you can blink rapidly. I'm telling you, I'm giving you the clues on this one. You can blink rapidly if this is true. Is there a Glock carbine somewhere in the safe over a Glock that, you know, might get released sometime in the future? Is the rumors of the Glock carbine true or not true?
Where these rumors come from? Internet. Yeah, I mean, people
just blink rapidly. Just blink rapidly.
They ask me questions about stuff, and I'm like, "Where did you hear this at, man? Where? You know, we make pistols."
I know I'm not. Don't even try to act like I'm the first person to ask you about the Glock carbine. Okay?
You're not. We make pistols.
That's it. That's all you got to say on this.
We make pistols.
I heard there is a Glock carbine.
We make pistols.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. Fine. Whatever. I don't know. We have to go back and watch this video and see how much did Scotty blink just now. That's what we got to do. We got to see. Yeah. He said they make pistols, but he might have blinked. I don't know. He was trying not to blink when he was saying. I can't help it, man. I can't. Do you guys still make knives? I see some people in the chat discussing the knife situation.
E-tools, yeah, we still make the e-tools and the knives. Yeah, we still make them. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
Mr. Glock's first stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think that Walther has a one of the Glock knives that Gunny signed.
Yeah.
So that was pretty, yeah, that was pretty cool. Let me see if there's any other stuff out there. Kathleen Music Lover says, tell Scotty Glock needs a tungsten frame.
Tungsten frame?
Yeah.
A little bit of weight. Add some weight.
Yeah. So what about Glock making an all-metal Glock, Scotty? What about that, man? Okay.
Some things you can answer for yourself.
Yeah. Everyone right now in the chat, tell us all the stuff you want Glock to make. I will relate it to Scotty so that he can immediately ignore everything.
Man.
It's gonna happen. Watch people start like, oh, I want this, I want that.
I'm telling you.
From Glock, let's see. Yeah, and let me see what else we got here. Okay, Shooting Gallery NE says, will Glock ever make a steel frame? I think people are asking about what about the missing numbers that we haven't seen. I think, what was it, like 46? There was a couple of numbers like we didn't get a G46 or something like that hasn't. Are those still things coming, or are there some numbers that it's like okay, we're just not going to develop this?
Yeah, the 46 was a tenure that was developed for a client over in Europe. It will never come to the U.S.
Oh, okay. All right. What do you think when you have you ever like, I know you look at movies, right? Are you into movies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What do you think when you look at movies and you see Glock and how Glock is represented in the movies? Do you have any comments on that?
You know, sometimes I laugh harder than other times. You know what I'm saying? There's certain movies where they got them all sexed up, and then they got some. I've seen some movies where they actually, you know what I mean, look like the product. So it's always a good feeling when I'm sitting back, kicking home, watching a movie, and somebody's is running around doing things with one of our pistols. It's a good feeling. I enjoy it.
What do you think when you see crazy stuff like in the movies they put a hammer or something on a Glock? What do you think about that? Because it happened. The Ant-Man movie, I think it was the first Ant-Man movie. There was a hammer on a Glock.
I have to remind myself that it's Hollywood. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
They have to do stuff that they're into the entertainment business. So they have to do stuff that captures the imagination. You know what I mean? So you know, I just kind of chuckle.
Oh, okay. So here's a question from Bricks before I go to Lola's questions. Bricks says, so when will the 19X have a MOS? Seriously, why wasn't that done from the jump?
Well, the 19X was designed at the request by the Army exactly how they wanted it. The MOS configuration was not one of the criteria for that particular pistol, right? And so if you want a 19X, just buy a freaking G45. Same gun with upgrades. The G45 is just black in color, but it has the front serrations, it has the bevel magwell, and it also has the MOS capability. Now, if you just want the 19X because you think it's sexier because of the color of it, you know what I mean?
I think he just wants it to say 19X. That's what.
Yeah,
that's what the thing is, right
he
there.
probably won't get one in MOS configuration.
No.
I doubt it.
Okay. All right. By the way, Scotty, there's lots of pent up Glock questions here. I gotta tell you that right now. So don't feel bad, man. We love you. I think unless you're like, I'm never coming back on this show because these people are insane. I would love to have you back, but just realize this: there's lots of pent up Glock questions that people have. Len Holt says the same thing. I already asked this, Len, but I will get your question in. Len says, "Will Glock ever make a carbine?" Boom, there you go. You don't have to answer that one.
Yeah.
we already know what the answer is. So Lola has two questions. She says, "Does Scotty instruct the armorist class?" And then she also wants to know what's the steps of his training class and who exactly do you train over there?
So I teach the armorist course. I teach the advanced armorist class, which is a 2-day class. The armorist course is is depot level. We show you how to take the gun apart, put it back together, talk about cleaning, all those things. The advanced armorist class, I actually have I've put 31 scenario pistols together, everything from generation 1 up to generation 5. And on the second day of the advanced class, you spend the entire day troubleshooting, trying to figure out what's actually wrong with that pistol. So, and there's also a practical test and there's a written test. So, for an example, I'll give you a workbook, and you may pick up a Gen 4 G17, and the problem may say the gun is failing to fire. And you go through the gun, figure out what's wrong with it. Oh shit, it has a broke firing pin tip. That's why it's not firing. You write down what you did to make it right. Okay, you just write down broke firing pin tip, replace firing pin, put the gun back together, dump it off on the table for the next student, and then you grab another gun and come back to your desk. So on the second day of the advanced armors class, you spend the entire day troubleshooting. We go over how to properly troubleshoot the pistol as well. We go over how to do a detailed inspection on a part-by-part basis, all those things. So it's more in-depth, the advanced armor class.
Oh, okay. So so my question to that would be, so how many days is the armor's class?
The armor's class is 1. The advanced armor's class is 2.
That's 2 days. Okay, so what are the costs for those, and who exactly is able to take those classes, and where do they take it?
So the armor's courses, of course, LE military, active or retired. You know what I mean? Private security, stuff like that. If you are a GSSF member, okay, the Glock Sports Shooting Foundation, we can get you in there as well. If you're not a GSSF member, or you don't fall on the retired or active LE or law enforcement, we can talk off the air. We can get that stuff together if it's, you know what I'm saying. But other than that, retired, active LE.
Or then they can join the foundation.
They can join the foundation,
So,
yeah. They join the Glock Sports Shooting Foundation. They're allowed to take the armor's course. Now, the advanced class, everybody wants that. The advanced class, now our classes are pass or fail. You know what I mean? We've changed some things. And when I took over in a leadership role as training manager, and then our new director, I'll call him team leader, but our new director. So we don't sign off on people. You don't just show up and pay for your certificate. You earn it. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to just sign off on people that show up for a class that don't have any business touching somebody's gun. So if you don't meet our standards, we give you a certificate of attendance. If you
oh my gosh, no.
But you can come back and take the course again. We'll let you come back and take it again for free.
That's basically the dunce cap.
That sounds like what they do in the military.
A certificate of attendance. You don't even want to tell people that.
Yeah, right. We'll let you come back and take it again for free. We're not going to pay for your expenses and things like that. But if you don't meet the standards, we'll let you come back and take it for free. No problem. The advanced armor class, you have to have same thing. It's a certificate of attendance or a certificate of completion if you make the standards.
Oh.
The advanced class, though, you have to be a current armorer with 2 years experience. However, if you don't meet that criteria, I can grant you a waiver. You'd have to send me a mini bio, just basically saying, this is who I am. I've got this much experience. I've taken armor's classes on the M4, 870 shotgun, the 1911, which tells me, well, hell, if you can take a 1911 apart or M4, you should be able to take a Glock apart. You know what I mean? So we just store that stuff in our files so we have something in our records, okay, saying that you are basically telling us that you won't be a hindrance to the class.
Right. So my question here would be, did you ever have the occasion that somebody's butt just had to be given the pure failure?
Unfortunately, man, unfortunately, we don't like to fail people, but yeah, man, sometimes we get people to show up that just, I have had a guy, that, he was in the advanced class, and let me go back. The advanced class is not the class you come to learn how to field strip the pistol and all these things. When you come to any type of advanced class, no matter what class it is, if it says advanced on there, you are expected to be at a certain skill set, a certain level. And, and I had to stop the class several times and work with him. And after a while, it just becomes unfair to the other paying customers, and that I got to stop and take care of you 5-10 minutes to get you up to speed. And the other students are sitting around just waiting, just kind of twiddling their thumbs. So it's not fair to them. So after a while, man, I felt bad, but I had to call a break, and I had to put him outside and talk to him and dismiss him from the class because he just wasn't ready. He wasn't getting anything out of the class. And this is a guy that's going to go back and work on somebody's gun. That's a bad day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That is a tough day. Yeah, man, I don't know how he got into the advanced class. I could see myself having a tough time getting out of the introductory.
No, like I said, we don't want to fail nobody, man. But every now.
No, some people need to be failed, man. Some people need.
It's just we want people to know that we're serious about our training, and you just don't come up and you just don't show up at our class and buy your certificate. You actually earn it, and I want to know that I earned my stuff. That they just didn't give it to me. You know what I mean?
100%. Look, I have my motorcycle endorsement on my license. But I grew up, I never even owned a bicycle growing up. So I really could not.
Get that revoked. You need to get that revoked.
So I could not ride a bicycle. So, but I decided that I wanted to ride a motorcycle, and I went to the class, and I dropped that bike so many times. And this is in Florida. So people over here in Florida, before they could walk, they ride motorcycles and mopeds and stuff like that. So everyone was awesome in there except me. And the guys were like, hey, man, listen. We'll let you come back, but you got to go because you're going to hurt yourself. And that was an awesome thing that they did. I went out and I bought a bicycle and I learned how to ride that. And then actually the whole family, like Lola didn't ride a bicycle. My boys didn't do it because it just wasn't like something that I did. And so we all started riding bicycles. And then I got like, I think I got like a Ninja 250 or something, and did a lot of riding. And so by the time I went back there, man, hey, I got that endorsement. And then Lola banned me from buying motorcycles.
But being married.
But, I got it. And that's why I think, listen, you have to, some people, for their own good, and then, yes, like in the case of a Glock, that someone, these are people out there that are serving communities, protecting themselves and other people, that, that could be a bad day.
Yeah,
like
yeah, man.
Yeah, I have another question for you, Scotty.
Yeah, Mike.
This one being, for instance, like when I was in the military, I avoided going to the armorer's course because I didn't want to work in the arms room in the military. Yeah. So, of course, when I got out of the military, everybody was talking to me about getting the Glock armorer's course and try to get as many armorer courses as I can, and I never went to one.
Of course.
So you already acknowledged that if you're like active LEO, retired LEO, and a member of NSSF. So now how does that work for people who are National Guard, active duty, or retired military?
Yeah, you're good. You qualify.
So it's under that same.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's the Glock.
Yeah,
What is?
The-
GSSF, the Glock Sport Shooting
Okay.
Foundation.
Okay.
Oh, I said what I say, NSFF.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
mixing
yeah.
that up
I
with
know what you meant,
the.
though.
Yeah, you're mixing
Yeah,
that
I'm
up with the
thinking.
Shot Show one. That's the Shot Show.
Yeah, my bad.
No, there's a lot of acronyms, man. That happens. Which reminds me, because I think there was another part of the question that Lola asked, but before we get into that, lots of these shows have been canceled. So how are you guys dealing with that over at Glock? How are you all dealing with the whole coronavirus situation? Are you all on home duty? What's the official word over there at Glock on this?
No, man, we're still carrying on. I mean, we're being careful and cautious, of course, but we already done some rescheduling. So those people that already set up classes, if they want to have a class, then we're gonna go do it. You know what I mean? If they don't, we reschedule them. So that's kind of how we're handling it. There's we've already had a lot of cancellations and a lot of rescheduling, but like I said, if they want to have the class because they've been waiting on it, we're gonna go do it. That's how we're doing it.
Right. And I know you're not necessarily in marketing, but so far as the shows, like NRA show was coming up and that got canceled. And, what's like the corporate stance on that with shows? Or do you even know about that? Or is there
No,
even anything issued?
I don't even do NRA. I mean, I normally don't go to NRA on my own dime. I do SHOT
Okay.
Show every year.
Okay.
NRA is one of those things because normally I'm traveling teaching myself, so I'm always coming back off a road trip, and then they have the NRA show. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be. I want to be home. So
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to, I think Lola's second part was, what are the steps of your training class and who do you train? So, because you just don't do the armorist thing, right? You actually train people to shoot, right? To defensive shooting.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So we got the armors class. We have the advanced armors class. We have the instructor workshop, which is a 2.5-day shooting. It's a continued education class, showing you how to be a better instructor. And we have the Glock operators course, which we like to call a skills builder. You know what I mean? You don't have to be an instructor to get in that class. And then we have the MOS operator. We're running red dot. Everybody's running red dots now, so we give you our spin on that. And then we have the brand new, we call it the low profile concealed carry class. We have that one as well. So yeah, we teach. Like I said earlier, I touch some of everybody. I touch LE guys. I touch military guys, private security guys. I've touched bodyguards and civilians alike.
Okay. Very cool. Let me see. Hopefully that answered any questions on that. I know I see comments there. People are like enjoying all this information. Elsters, Rifles, and Reloading has a good question here that I'm going to ask you. He says, okay, here's a really good question. What is Glock's thoughts on the PSA dagger that is about to come out? That is very Glockish, quote unquote Glockish. Can that actually take Gen 3 Glock parts? Question mark.
Yeah, that's
so what do you think?
like I said, that's a conversation for people higher up on the food chain. I'm a trainer. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it at SHOT Show. I actually saw it at SHOT Show.
You did? Did you handle it?
I did see it.
You
I did.
handle
I picked it up. I looked at it. I handled it. You know what I mean?
What'd you think?
I mean, it's sexy, you know what I mean? But sexy doesn't equate to better, you know what I mean? And, I always tell people, are you willing to bet your life and bet your family's life on something that's just, what I mean, just kind of pieced together? And no disrespect to that, you know what I mean? I don't, but what's the application? You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that take place, man, when you start putting guns together. The QC stuff, the research and development. You're talking about a life-saving tool. You know what I mean? A life-saving tool. And that's what we pride ourselves off of. We know that when we put that tool in your hand, we know we've done the research, we've done the development, we've monitored the quality control, we control everything. So we know you're getting the finest product out there. So like I said, a lot of stuff that's going on with our system. A lot of people have taken and done modifications, and they've come up with their own clones, and good on them. You know what I mean? I'm not hating, I don't not no man's hustle. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know what I mean, you have to ask yourself, what's the application? You know what I mean? It felt good in the hand. I held it in my hand. But, even if I wasn't, if I was just Scotty Banks off the street, you know what I mean, and when you know better, you can do better. You know what I'm saying? If I didn't have any, it's easy to persuade somebody, the masses of people who don't really have a true understanding of things. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's real easy to get persuaded, but when you truly understand and when you know better, you can do better. And that's what all I'll say about that.
Yeah. If someone were to ask me, like, why do I think there's all these clones of Glocks out there in the world? First of all, Glock changed this entire game. I mean, we've got to give it to Gaston Glock right there, right? He completely changed this game of self-defense. He changed the complete course of history. Up to that point that the first Glock came out, we were pretty much dealing with derivatives of 1911 for the most part, right? Not,
Yep.
So I think that when you do that, everything that comes after that cannot escape that thing of being compared to what's the pinnacle, or what was the the words escaping me, but everyone's gonna try to go up against the thing that changed the game, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and then the number one thing that happens there, the next thing that happens after that, is that everyone wants to get it cheaper at a cheaper price. And I'm not trying to knock that either. I think there's just like situations out there where people feel like, hey, I can't. Here's my take on it, man. I won't knock. Like, I think I tell people, if a high point is what you can afford, get a high point.
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's the way I feel about it. Defend yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it.
Yeah. So
something is better than nothing.
Yes. Yeah. So whatever it is you can afford out there, you get that thing. Make sure it works for you. Know how it works. Practice with it, train with it, all those kinds of things. But I think what happens is then people start trying to go like, okay, can we save money? And then of course, we're capitalists. Capitalism is awesome. People get into the game and they compete with that. But there are alternatives here. So, for example, you can get a used Glock.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not against people getting, what they can get. Not against that at all. I don't take it personal when some of these other people do certain things and they make a clone, and hey, I don't take it personal, man. Life is good if you let it be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great thing for Glock. I don't see Glock as being in any danger anytime soon.
No, I don't think so either.
Just be based on what they did, and what I would try to say to other companies, I get it. I think you can. Obviously, there's a business model by trying to reverse engineer what someone else did that changed the game, and you can build out of that and improve on that 100% for sure, right? But I think if you really want to do something here, then as a company, speaking to companies out there, then you change the game.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's the way to go about it. And a lot of times, like the number one complaint that a lot of us have actually is that since then Glock doesn't like make massive changes anymore, right? This is one of the things that I think folks expect, because Glock so massively changed the game, and then what they've done since then is make these improvements. I mean, from the original Glock 17 up until, what was it we were talking about before, the Gen 5, there were these increments of improvement that came along, and that kind of like the way that human beings are, we want to see these big massive explosions,
of course, yeah,
in technology. Yeah, so absolutely. I know that's what causes a lot of frustration for people. I'm gonna say probably we won't see anything like that until someone goes to lasers.
Yeah. Here's what I tell folks. I understand, sex sells, right? It's the oldest profession in the world, right? And even when it comes to guns,
because we buy it, we all buy it.
Yeah, even when it comes to guns, man, they want them sexed up, they want them pretty, and they want all these different design changes. They want all these things. For a gun, you're gonna stick in your waistband, and it's gonna be out of sight, out of view until you need it.
Yeah, listen, Scotty, I only want one thing. You know what that is?
What's that?
A Glock carbine. That's all. That's all I want, brother.
We
That's all.
make pistols, man. Yeah, we make pistols. That's what we do. We're a pistol company, man.
Okay, all right, fine. Fine. Okay, so let me by the way, so let me see this. I think there's some other people asking this, but Rodney Brady wants to know if you have an IG. And yes, he does have an IG. I'm gonna Instagram. You want to tell the people your social media? I'm gonna throw your Instagram up on the screen. It is Mr_Instructor72 right there, and I'll show people what it looks like. But what's your other social media that folks can find you on, Scotty?
I really don't have any much. All I do is Instagram. Yeah, I mean, you know.
Oh, really? Okay, so it's mostly so. If anyone's interested in seeing what you're up to, it's mostly the Instagram stuff, right?
Yeah, mostly Instagram. You know, I like to cook. You know, what I mean, I put cooking stuff on there, and you know,
cool.
little shooting video here and there. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Awesome. So there you go. So I just it's you want to tell the folks what it is again?
It's Mr_Instructor 72.
Yeah. All right, so anyone who wants to find out more about Scotty's recipes, and also if you want to start a campaign to see if we can get Scotty to talk to Gaston Glock about the Glock Carbine, that's where you go to. Let's see if there's any questions. We'll see if I have any internet poll. We'll get some people over on your IG. We want the Glock Carbine. Give it to us. We know you have it. Listen, I heard somebody told me, man. I'm not gonna say who,
because I was gonna say it's not credible unless you say who.
No, I'm not gonna say who because I can't remember who it was. But I went to buy the Glock booth one time, and there was a guy there working in the Glock booth, and I was like, dude, just tell me the truth. Is there a Glock carbine in the safe? And he said, yes, there is.
You didn't think he was just messing with you?
I don't know. He should have never told me that.
You never stopped to think, oh, this guy just messing with me. Trying to get out of there.
It was at the end of SHOT Show. He could have just been tired of that question.
Oh, yeah, of course. You didn't think he was messing with you? Come on, man.
No, I know. I'm pretty sure he was, but, you know. I gotta try, man.
Oh, man.
I gotta try. That's something that people are competing against Glock with right now, even though you're saying Glock doesn't make a carbine. There's people out there trying to make a carbine. I mean, so let's just look at the magazine, man. The Glock magazine, I think, is one of the most. It's it's the most popular handgun magazine.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
How many times anything that comes out that's a pistol caliber carbine or whatever, and the first question people say, does it take Glock mags?
Yeah, that's true. True.
I'm just saying, Kel-Tec's made a carbine. I think Ruger just released a carbine using Glock mags. Kel-Tec uses Glock mags. You know, there's all those AR-15s, like 9mm AR-15 pattern rifles or whatever you want to call it, right? That uses Glock mags, right? There's Chris Vector. I know you heard of Chris Vector.
Oh yeah. I had a buddy who used to work up there. Yep.
Okay, all right, Scotty. So I'm just saying.
Hey, Scotty, man, ain't gonna mess around and have you lose your job talking about this Glock carbine.
No, man.
I know the line right now. Just put it on a T-shirt. We just make pistols. I get it.
Yeah, we just make pistols.
Yeah, it would be awesome if Glock made an AR-15, though. By the way, let's just add that to the mix.
There's already a ton of AR-15s out there.
No, I want one that's got Glock stamped on it.
God.
Do you know that Magpul, speaking of someone that makes Glock stuff, right? Magpul makes a lot of Glock stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that Magpul actually, for a very, very brief period of time, made an AR-15?
I did not.
With Magpul on it. And so one of my friends has two. He has the lower that has Magpul on it, right? And he has a complete gun. I guess Magpul was messing around with actually getting into the gun game, and they made these guns, and the only people that ever got their hands on them were people that did, like, close friends to Magpul when they were thinking about this. And then I don't know if it was the lawyers or whatever over at Magpul, and they were like, no, we can't actually do this. So this is so rare that it's referred to as the China doll.
Damn, no, I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, it's very rare, but it does exist. If people don't believe me, go look that up. So I'm just saying, Scotty, when you're over at the Glock factory one day, just go over there and program into something AR-15 get some Glock stamped on it, and hook a brother up, man.
Yeah, almighty, man. Man.
Let's see what let's see what other someone. Kathleen Music Lover says cannot stand the Glock dingus. Laugh out loud. That's the safety, the trigger safety.
Oh.
Yeah. I would rather have a trigger safety than an actual like a safety on the slide and all that kind of stuff.
What does he shoot? Because everybody's putting trigger safeties on guns now. All the striker fire guns out there. CZ has one.
Yeah.
Stig has one. M&P has one. So what is he shooting?
Yeah. I don't think Kathleen. I think she's more into like traditional type guns.
Oh, hammer fire.
Yeah, and I think she was also like the one asking about metal. Keith Gregory wants to know why is the Gen 5 only in 9mm?
Because that's the demand. I mean, nobody's really shooting 40 caliber guns. We always release the pistol in the most popular caliber, and there's been a huge shift from 40 cal to 9mm across the country. I mean, people are transitioning back to 9mm guns at a staggering rate. Nobody's really carrying 40 cal. There's still some people carrying it, but a lot of people, man, are dumping 40 cal guns left and right, and they're going back to 9mm guns. So when the Gen 5 was introduced, the 9mm gun was the most popular gun at the time, so we came out in 9mm first. Now when Gen 4 came out in 2010, the 40 caliber was the most popular round. So the Gen 4 was produced in 40 caliber first, then 9mm followed suit.
So when you guys are manufacturing, most of what you manufacture is 9mm. Obviously, you're making 10mm and stuff like that, and 40 and 45 still, but
still,
okay.
Not in Gen 5 though.
Not in Gen 5.
Yeah,
so
only 9mm.
Okay, but so you're still manufacturing Gen 4 though, right?
Yeah, we're still doing Gen 3s and Gen 4s.
Okay, okay, Gen 3s and Gen 4 is still being made. Okay, and then no plans of stopping that anytime soon, right?
That's correct.
Okay, but for right now, Gen 5's only going to be 9mm.
It's only 9mm. Anytime we produce we make a new generation. Eventually, if you paid attention to the generations of guns, eventually it's just a matter of time for stuff starts coming out in different calibers. But right now, the Gen 5 is only out in 9mm. I don't know when we'll produce a Gen 5 in another caliber, but right now the 40 caliber, the 9mm it's in such high demand that nobody's even buying 40 caliber guns. You know what I mean? So the 9mm gun is what everybody's wanting, so that's what we're producing.
Yeah. I remember when I was in the Army, they did a test between 9 and 40, and the test pretty much came back that the 9 was doing about as much damage as the 40. So around about that time frame, I remember everybody was
of course
getting rid of their 40s and going back to 9s.
Yeah. And that's the thing with ballistics. I've been fortunate enough to be around some high end, law enforcement agencies, federal agencies, and I've been able to hang out with their ballisticians and really get educated on how ballistics work. And that's a lot of things. Most people out there that carry a gun have no clue how ballistics actually work. They've been taught and they've been conditioned to think that, if you get a 45, then that's the one hit or quitter. If you shoot somebody with a 45, they're going to stop in their tracks. It just doesn't work like that. Handguns simply don't go fast enough to cause any real damage. That's a fact. Right. This ain't Scotty Banks' words. It's a fact. That's why it's critical to put the shots in the right place. So it's the shot placement that kills, not the caliber. Whether you're shooting a 9mm, 40, 45, and that fault it's been fought for decades, right? Oh well, we're gonna shoot a 45 because if we shoot somebody with that, then that's the end all to be all. Most people just don't understand how ballistics actually work, and they got this thing in their mind that if you shoot somebody with a 45, all of a sudden they're gonna drop dead. They don't know that you can shoot somebody through the heart, and there's still enough oxygen left in the body for that person to commit chaos for 15, 20, 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Imagine a guy with an M4. He's gonna die, right? He's been shot through the heart, but he got an M4 with a freaking 30-round mag in there. Imagine the damage he can do. And those are the things that people don't really take into consideration. They just don't know. So that's one of the things that we try to do in our shooting courses. We try to give you we have a section dedicated to ballistics to actually teach you and educate you how ballistics really work. I always tell folks, Don't expect too much out of your handgun. Don't matter if you're carrying a 9, a 40 caliber, a 45, a 10 millimeter. Don't expect too much out of your handgun. Handguns just don't go fast enough to cause any real damage, and you need to understand that. So it's not the caliber that kills, it's where you put them. And even putting them in the right place, that guy, if he's a mean SOB, I mean, he still can cause chaos, man. Being shot through the heart, which means he's mortally wounded, he's going to die. But if he's committed to his cause, he can really cause a lot of stuff, man. A lot of damage, right?
Yeah. So let's say the folks out there, if they wanted to find, like you just said, right? People don't know enough about ballistics. Where's a place that you think folks out there could go to easily and find out more about this if they?
There's all type of data online, man. There's all type of data online.
Yeah, this is the internet. There's a lot of stuff. Like, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Where would you recommend folks go to find good information? Because there's still some bad info out there as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of bad info out there too. And the thing with ballistics, people, nothing can mimic the human body except for the human body. And so, we use these tests as a guideline to get some type of idea of what's going to happen when that projectile passes through heavy clothing, a barrier, auto glass, all these things, man. If you're an LE guy or military guy, you can contact some of these. There's some of these bigger agencies around the country that conduct their own ballistics testing, stuff like that. If you're a civilian, I don't know who's going to give up that information to a civilian. I just don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I think the FBI. I think the FBI has some data on this.
They do.
I don't know how. I think that's public.
It could be public.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best place to look. If anyone out there, and then also, like people are saying in the chat, 9mm has come a long way. Technology wise, I think all ammo technology has allowed us to develop all these things a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's something that that people, I think, need to think about out there. And even another thing, someone was saying that they went out and they were looking, and 40 caliber was actually available. So that's an indication of how much people are not using it.
Yeah. I always tell people, get the gun that you can shoot the fastest and the most accurate, because that's what you want. The goal is to put the most amount of rounds in the least amount of time. So, if you shoot a 9mm, if you can shoot it quickly and accurately, well, go with it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I tell folks. Get the gun that you can shoot the fastest and the most accurately.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think it's up to you. While we're talking about all these different things around, like the coronavirus and things like that, what kind of stuff do you do, man, to prepare for these things? Are you like the kind of person, and you could jump in here too, Mike, are you the kind of person that you wait until this stuff comes up and then you try to get 9mm? Do you set aside things all the time for this? What's your philosophy on this?
No, I mean, I've been blessed and fortunate to work in the industry for 12 years. So, I get favors done all the time, and I do favors for people too. And they take care of you. When you take care of people, they like to take care of you back. So I got my stash, man, in my house, man. I'm pretty squared away on 9mm and 223 and got some 308. So yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of okay. That sounded a little bit to me like, hey, don't come to my place if things go down like that. What do you think about this? You think this is really getting apocalyptic, like everyone is getting to?
Well, humans, we have a way of making things worse than what it actually is. I think that we do need to take heed and listen to what they're saying to a degree. I'm not going to let it stop my everyday living. I'm going to be mindful of what I'm doing, where I'm at. I'm going to try to just take care of myself like I always do. I'm a homebody anyway. What I mean? And, I'm glad I'm not traveling as much right now because of being exposed to different stuff. But I'm not going to let it change who I am and what I am. I mean, I'm going to live my life like I've been living it. Like I said, I'm a homebody anyway. I'm on the road so much that when I'm home, I just want to be home. You know what I mean?
That's what I tell. Like, that's what I was saying. To me, this obviously it kind of sucks that there's all this stuff going on and shows are getting canceled. But in a way as well, I'm kind of glad, like, I get a little bit of a chance to get some kind of break and recharge my batteries. And I think everyone should look at it as that as well. This is a chance, if you're home for whatever reason, get some sleep.
Yeah, I mean rest. I
Get
mean,
some rest. Yeah.
spend time with family. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really, I'm not really, concerned about it. I think, they'll find something. They'll get a control over it. That's what I think. I think it'll subside eventually. But it is good to take precautions and try to prevent it. Unfortunately, some people are just reckless. They don't give a damn. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that makes it bad for the people who are trying to be responsible and do the right thing. But I'm not gonna, like I said, do a drastic change to my everyday routine, man. My way of living. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. And I think
I'm the
go
same
ahead.
way.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I'm the same way. Nothing's drastic changing with me. The only thing that's changing is everything that's going on around me. So NRA show canceled. The Florida State Championship got pushed back a couple months. So that just altered my plans.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, this is a thing we have to live with forever. So you
Yeah.
can't stay in a forever state of like panic over these things. This is forever now. The once genies come out of the bottle, they don't go back in. We have to live with this forever. Obviously, there's things going into place. The government, people are putting into place to kind of to deal with this until they come up with a vaccine or whatever, however long that's going to take. But this is something we're going to have to deal with forever. And the best time to get prepared is before stuff happens. And if I would say right now, if you know that you've got guns, you've got ammo, you've got supplies and things like that, don't go crazy and overpay for things. I know there's people talking about like cheaper than dirt is out there price gouging and other people price gouging. I get all of that. Just don't partake in that, man. Buy low,
So
sell high.
so let me ask you,
Hmm.
with the coronavirus going on and everybody who actually ended up passing away from it,
Hmm.
I've only heard of elderly people passing away from it, but I haven't heard of anybody passing away that was like infant to 40 years old.
Neither
Uh,
have I. Neither have I.
yeah, I think so. First of all, with medical stuff, and I'm not like an expert on this at all, but with the way that the medical laws are, and Lola can probably speak to this better than me. I think it's HIPAA laws, right, Lola? Yeah, HIPAA. They're not going to release a lot of stuff. So,
Mm.
because they cannot release a lot of details about people. So I think that maybe in the beginning was true, that it's usually only older people that's going to happen to, but that's not going to be the end result here. Ultimately, we're going to, there's people die, I think 30 to 50 people, 50,000 people die of the regular flu every year, or the other
Right.
strains that exist. People are going to die from this, and it's going to be young, old, people of all different colors. There's some folks out there saying, like I've heard, oh, there's no black people. There's black people getting the coronavirus. Okay,
Hmm.
I think that what's the name of the Black Superman guy? What's that British? Black.
It's Elba.
Yeah, Idris
Hmm.
Elba got the coronavirus and all that kind of stuff. So this is a human being thing, and a lot of human beings are going to be affected by this, is what I would say. By the way, shout out to Tactical Toolbox. I saw Tactical Toolbox in the chat. Shout out to him. We need to get Tactical Toolbox to come on the show here sometime soon so we can catch up with all the stuff going on with him. Tyven Show says, he gave us a couple of bucks here. He said, everyone give Lola a shout out in the comments. She's awesome. That's true. Lola is awesome. We're over 9 o'clock, so I don't want to keep Scotty and Mike here that much longer. I think this has been great, man. What do you think? How's it been? What do you think?
It's
It's
been
awesome.
pretty
Awesome.
good.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, man.
Yeah, this is an amazing show. 2 hours just went by real fast. I don't think I asked about Glock carbines enough. That's my one criticism. I don't think we really covered the Glock carbine question.
I can't tell you nothing about that. I mean, I can't talk about something that don't exist.
Yeah, I don't think we covered it well enough, though. I don't think we
We can
did.
talk pistols all day.
Yeah. So, but hopefully we'll get him to come back. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get these guys to wrap up. I'm going to start with Mike. Tell the folks out there, Mike, what you're getting up to here briefly, and how they can keep in touch with you and support you, etc.
Yeah, so I will actually say, please go to Instagram and look up at Munitions Weapons Tactical. Follow me on my shooting quest within competition shooting USPSA around the country. And actually, we just came out with some new hats. So if you would like a hat, please DM me and I'll tell you what to do. And if you head on over to m-wtactical.com/store, you can get some apparel that we have for
Oh,
sale as
Woodland.
well.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool thing right there. And where do they get that from again?
www.m-wtactical.com/store.
All right, very cool. All right, so Scotty, how can the folks keep in touch with you? What information can you give out for people who want to maybe do some follow-ups or follow you? I know we spoke about the IG, but hit them up with that again.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I'm active on is IG. But if anybody's interested in taking a training course, they can go to glocktraining.com, and they can see the schedule for the entire year up into 2021.
Okay, so if someone goes there, are you always in there? Are you always giving those courses, or is it different people?
Different people, yeah, different people.
Okay,
yeah.
so what if the people want the Scotty experience? Then what?
It's kind of when you're the manager, man. It's kind of I used to be the guy that people could call and request, you know what I mean. But now, really being the manager, I have to oversee the daily operations, and so now my job is to make sure my team members have what they need. I still do big, it's like special stuff, you know what I mean. Me and actually the director, we still go out and teach. If it's a special class, you know what I mean, like, somebody's a big agency that's transitioning from some other manufacturer to the Glock pistol or whatever, we still get out and go do that. We like to show them the leadership. So I still do teach, you know what I mean. If somebody wants to get me, you just have to check the schedule and see if I'm on it or not.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man, I really enjoyed this, so I hope we get you back on here. Maybe if you're in Florida or something like that, we can do something, or I'll come up there and do something with you guys if that's okay, as long as I get to see what's in the safe.
Oh my goodness! Here we go.
He's gonna be disappointed. I'll open it up for him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Let me do this right now before I end this here. I want to remind everyone, go to hankstrange.com. Okay, that's the way that you support us on hankstrange.com. We've got Lola's deals on there if you want to find out ways you can save money, especially now, you guys, for whoever's out there buying ammo and guns. I'm not telling you to do it, but if you're doing it, go to Ballistic Inc. That's where you can get the this is the Gun Nerd shirt. This and other shirts can be found at Ballistic Inc. I want to thank Scotty Banks as well as Mike Woodland for coming on the show. They've been awesome guests. I am going to drop the end right now of the show. Everyone stay right there. Boom. Make sure you guys subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell so you can be notified every time we go live with this. You can also find us on iTunes and Podbean and all your favorite places that you listen to audio. We strip out the audio of this, we throw it up. Thanks to Franklin Armory for sponsoring the show. This has been awesome. Awesome, Scotty, man. So much info. I think everyone out there is saying that. They got a lot of info. We got to get you to come back again. Of course, it's always awesome. It's always awesome seeing Mike. Any last words from you guys before we get out of here? Who's got last words?
Please go check out the M-W Tactical Podcast. Just do a search for M-W Tactical Podcast, or just go to my Instagram and click on the link in the bio.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, guys, don't forget to ask Scotty about the Glock Carbine when you go to his IG. Don't forget about that. We're out of here. Peace.